I never believed in ghosts, at least not until that night. It started when I moved to Lucan, Ontario, a quiet, eerie little town with a polite, if distant, population. I was renting an old farmhouse just outside the town proper. It was cheap, too cheap, but I figured the isolation would help me focus on my writing. What I didn't know was that the land I had moved onto once belonged to the infamous Donnelly family, the Black Donnellys. You've probably heard the stories: murder, fire, mob justice, and a legacy soaked in blood. But what the history books don't tell you is that the dead don't sleep out there. Not in Lucan, and especially not the Donnellys. It began subtly. The first night I heard footsteps upstairs. I dismissed it as the house settling or maybe a raccoon in the attic. But every night, the footsteps returned slow, deliberate, pacing from one end of the hall to the other. I'd call out, heart pounding, but no one answered. One morning, I found all the chairs in the kitchen turned upside down on the table, like a ghostly game of musical chairs had been played in the dark. That same day, I visited the local library, hoping to dig into the property's history. The librarian, an elderly woman named Mrs. Carver, went pale when I told her where I lived. "You're on Donnelly land," she whispered, as if the walls might be listening. They never left. I laughed it off until she pressed an old newspaper clipping into my hands. February 4th, 1880. The Donnellys murdered by local vigilantes. There were photos grainy and dark, a charred foundation, blood on the snow, and one picture of young Johnny Donnelly, whose eyes seemed to follow me off the page. That night, the footsteps turned into banging. I woke up at 3:13 to the sound of pounding hooves outside my window. I shot out of bed and looked out, expecting to see horses running loose. But there was nothing, no prints in the snow, no movement, just fog swirling in unnatural patterns. Then came the laughter. Children, maybe 2 or 3, giggling in the fields like they were playing hide and seek in the dead of winter. I turned away from the window and nearly screamed. Standing in the doorway was a man dressed in black. Not a shadow, not a trick of the light, a man. His face was pale and tight with rage, his eyes sunken, black holes that seemed to pull at the edges of my sanity. He pointed at me and said only one word: murderer. The next morning, I packed my bags. I didn't care about deposits or refunds. I had to leave. But when I opened the front door, the world outside was gone. Snow fell in thick curtains, and beyond it, nothing. Just endless, swirling white. I stepped out and heard the crunch of boots behind me. I turned. No one. Then, across the snow-covered field, I saw them. 5 figures, dressed in 19th century clothes, walking slowly toward me. Tom Donnelly, the father, broad shoulders and a broken face. Bridget, his wife, clutched something in her hand. Was it a rosary? No, it was a scorched photograph. Johnny, James, and Will followed, their eyes glazed, their forms flickering like candlelight in the fog. I ran, but the land stretched forever. No matter which way I turned, I ended up back at the house, trapped, just like they had been. That night, they came inside. I huddled in the living room, shotgun in hand. The lights flickered, the air dropped 10 degrees. And then, one by one, they appeared, silent, smoky figures that stared through me like I was glass. The smell of burning wood filled the room, and I could hear screams, human screams, echoing from some faraway place I couldn't reach. Justice! Tom's voice rumbled like thunder. "You let them do this to us?" Bridget whispered, drifting inches from my face. "I didn't," I cried, but my voice sounded small and distant. I wasn't even alive, neither were we. Then they vanished. I don't know how long I blacked out, but when I came to, it was morning. The fog was gone, the snow was melting. I bolted to my car and drove until the town was nothing but a memory in my rearview mirror. I stayed in motels, couch surfed, and avoided sleep, But the Donnellys didn't care where I ran. They followed. They always follow. Sometimes I hear hooves outside my motel window. Sometimes the TV turns to static and a face stares back. I've woken up with snow on my blankets. Once I heard a child whisper, "We remember." So now I tell their story. Not because I want to, but because I have to. Because every time I try to forget, they remind me. Every time I stop talking, they come a little closer. And one day, when I run out of places to hide, they'll finish what was started in that burning farmhouse in 1880, and maybe then, finally, they'll rest. But I doubt it. The ghosts of the Black Donnellys don't want peace. They want revenge. And they'll wait forever to get it.